wind turbines, their elegance, their futuristic look is really important. And again, harking back to Renew Northfield and the early days of what I and a few other people in the community were talking about when we started thinking, okay, how can we move this community as rapidly as possible toward energy self-sufficiency? There were people who said, we should really go after energy conservation and energy efficiency, because that's where you get the biggest bang for the buck. And I'm an old energy auditor. I know that. I mean, I know that the low-hanging fruit is in energy efficiency and energy conservation. It's not in putting millions of dollars into wind turbines. But I made the argument then, and I still think it was the right argument, that you have to capture people's imaginations. You've got to get them turned on to this, to really care. And telling people about compact fluorescent light bulbs, or using an automatic setback thermostat to keep their house cooler at night. It's important, and I still do that, and we're doing more of that now, but it's not quite as sexy as a 70-meter tall wind turbine. And so we made a very conscious effort to say, okay, we're going to focus on utility scale wind at first, because we need to capture the imagination of the community. And I think that that's actually happened. People really do view this turbine, and now St. Olaf's turbines, as symbols of a progressive community, as a positive future. And yeah, now we can start talking about energy efficiency and getting people turned on to that too, because that has to be a part of the solution. But I think that starting with the wind turbines was the right thing to do. Always gives me a good feeling to come out here. When I first started Renew Northfield back in 2001, and we started talking about whether or not locally owned wind turbines might be possible, I was confident it would happen, but a lot of other people weren't. And it's just really gratifying to come out here and to see this first example of somebody being willing to put their money where their mouth was. And I'm really grateful that Carleton was willing to do that. And I think this turbine really is a symbol for the community of what could be a more sustainable future. So I always feel good about it when I come out here. It gives me all sorts of warm fuzzies. Now that would be a great spot for a solar system. They should really have a large photovoltaic array on that south-facing roof. I'm going to have to talk with those folks. You have to make, in most cases, you have to kind of make the business case as to how this can work for them. Whether they're a for-profit business or a municipality or a non-profit such as Carleton or St. Olaf, you've got to make the argument that not only is this the right thing to do environmentally, but it makes economic sense too. So you know, 9/10 of the argument that I have to make is more than 9/10 is not about the environmental benefits or about what kind of technology is available, but instead it's about how can you make this work economically. How can you get what you would consider an acceptable economic return on your investment. And there is no one-size-fits-all approach. I mean, every project, whether it's small or large, solar or wind or other, takes a creative, different approach. So that's kind of the niche that I'm trying to fill with my consulting businesses. Come on, Angus. I work out of a home office, and I've got to say I love working at home. I mean, literally, I'm in my office here as I sit on the sofa by the wood stove with my dog Angus at my feet. And one of the best things about it is that the commute from the kitchen to the sofa is really very manageable. After I've had a cup of coffee, I can manage that very nicely. So I enjoy it. And I don't need a lot of office for the kind of work I do. I mean, I've got my cell phone, I've got my laptop, and I've got a file cabinet here, and really that's about all I need, because most of my work has to do with doing research online, talking with folks on the phone, setting up appointments, and people pay me for what I know and what I can connect them with in terms of resources and technology. So I've got what I need right here at my fingertips, and I am definitely a lover of the internet and the capabilities it offers me, because I can really just do everything I need to right here on the sofa. when it comes down to making a decision about what kind of car you're going to get, if you are indeed going to get one or you're going to replace one, what we've been sold by Detroit and Madison Avenue is power and size and supposed safety in big SUVs or big full-size cars, or the convenience of the minivan. And I frankly don't buy any of it. I think that you really need to be very cognizant of how your attitudes about cars have been shaped by advertising in the automobile industry. And I think that most people can get by with, if you're really concerned, if you really want to live out your principles, and one of your principles is that you should try to minimize the environmental impact of your lifestyle decisions and lifestyle actions, you should think about, how much car do I need? And even first of all, obviously, do I need a car? And if I do need a car, how much of a car do I need? And do I need a new car? Or can I buy a used car and drive it minimally and make it last for many, many years? And yeah, it's got to be safe. And sure, it's nice if it has a few creature comforts, some tunes, and maybe air conditioning if you think you need that. But for me, one of the paramount considerations is the efficiency of a car. Family car, VW Jetta, 50 miles per gallon, or a Honda Civic hybrid, or a Toyota Prius hybrid, or if you don't want a spring for a hybrid, get a Toyota Civic, just a regular or a regular Honda Civic, or a Toyota Corolla, or a Toyota Yaris. They all get 35, sometimes close to 40 miles per gallon, whereas the average vehicle in America, new, is about 20.6 miles per gallon, which is just obscene. I mean, it's just obscene that that's what's going on in this country, that people are buying big SUVs and minivans when they frequently really don't need them. I mean, they may think they need them, but when you get right down to it, there's a real difference between a need and a want. Here's the 550-gallon biodiesel tank, and this is owned by the Northfield Biodiesel Buyers Club, an informal group I helped start about a year and a half ago. We were really frustrated that we weren't able to get biodiesel regularly, so we made arrangements with a farmers co-op in Wanamingo, which is about 30 miles from here. The beauty of it is that it can be used in any unmodified diesel engine. You don't need to do anything to a vehicle to use biodiesel. If it has a diesel engine, you can use biodiesel in it. You can use it at a very low blend rate of 1 or 2% if you want. And in fact, all of the diesel fuel in Minnesota now has a 2% blend of biodiesel in it. But you can go up as high as you want. And I use 100% biodiesel spring through fall. And last winter, when it was available, we used about a 50% blend of biodiesel during the winter. Yeah, so the people in the Buyers Club literally just pull into my driveway, and we all prepay for our fuel based on how much we think we're going to use. And with our long hose, we can easily just pump it, and we fire up the tank, and it pumps whatever we need. We document the gallons, and it's good to go. Right now, we're working with a local service station owner to see to it that, if at all possible, he'll begin selling biodiesel at the pump come this spring. And there's a really good chance that that's going to happen. And that was one of our ultimate goals for establishing the Biodiesel Buyers Club, to demonstrate that there's local demand for biodiesel and that somebody could make money selling it at the pump. And as I said, I'm really hopeful that that's going to happen this spring. Step back just a little bit further. Yeah. Now you can get a view of the panels themselves. Yeah. I certainly view it as economical. I mean, it's not the kind of thing that you do because you expect to get your money back in 2 to 10 years or something like that. It's a long-term payback. And for me, the decision was driven by my values more than economics. One of the beauties of solar electric is that there are literally no moving parts, and there's not much that can go wrong. The panels themselves are warranted. These are 20 years, many are 25 years, and all of the field experience from the last 30 years or so, which is about how long photovoltaic systems have been around, indicate that they should be good for 40 to 50 years. They should produce for that long. They won't be quite as efficient as they age, but they'll still continue to produce for decades. So yeah, it's a long-term investment, but it's an investment in what I believe in, clean energy. On a beautiful sunny day like this, it's producing way more than we need. So we're actually acting as a tiny neighborhood power plant. We're providing power for not only our own house, but all of the surplus goes out on the regular line that comes into every house. It just goes out to the neighborhood, and it acts as a tiny neighborhood power plant. And that's one of the beauties of solar systems. They can actually act as really micro power plants and do so very, very cost effectively, in my opinion. And how it's doing right now? I've got data at my fingertips, and when I'm working at home, as I do most days, I can't help but come out here every so often to see how much power the PV system is producing, both instantaneously, and right now the sun is starting to sink into the western sky, so it's way down from its peak. It's at about 900 watts right now, whereas around noon, between say 10:30 and 1:30, it was producing about 2,700 watts. This is a 3,040 watt system, or 3.04 kilowatt system. And that's the DC rating, and there are always some efficiency losses when it's converted to AC. So it's never produced more than about 2,800 watts, but I love to see it cranking along at better than 2,500 watts, which it was doing for most of the day. Let's see how much it produced today. 18 kilowatt hours. That's as much as I've ever produced in a day. So happy day for the owner of the PV system. Is that people sometimes complain that wind has to have subsidies or incentives to be cost effective. And I always say, well, you know, if you'd like to just have a level playing field, we could provide some even bigger subsidies or incentive for wind or solar, because you know, to pretend that the oil industry, the natural gas industry, the coal industry, the nuclear industry have not gotten subsidies for decades, huge subsidies, it's just being intellectually dishonest. So yeah, do they need subsidies? Do they need incentives? Yes, they do, to compete, because it's not like we're looking for a big advantage for renewable technologies. We're looking for a more level playing field instead of one that's tilted like that against renewables. I mean, I'd like to come to something close to a level playing field, and that's what we're looking for. But yeah, I mean, there are all sorts of barriers to developing wind and other renewable energy projects. Some of them are economic, some of them are regulatory, some of them are just institutional inertia, just a general human reluctance to change radically in the way you do things. Unfortunately, the utilities companies themselves have made it very difficult to do wind projects in particular, and to a lesser extent solar. So there are just all sorts of barriers, and it ain't easy, but it's really important that the St. Olafs and the Carletons of the world have taken the first steps, because we need pioneers, and both St. Olaf and Carleton have shown that you can do it. And there should be a lot more of these around Northfield and around every other community in the United States. And there will be in the near future. If I have anything to say about it, and other people who care about this, there will be a lot more wind turbines in this area and around other communities in Minnesota in the very near future.